And we are back. Okay, so last game of the season for the Dallas Cowboys. I definitely did not want to miss this live stream. It is a noon game, so as usual, the struggles persist in terms of my bedtime and work schedule versus what's relatively early for me on a Sunday. But anyway, I'm here. There's a lot to talk about with this game, despite the fact that the Cowboys are not going to the playoffs. It did not qualify for the postseason. So much has happened this week, from what Micah Parsons said on Twitter to the release of Trayvon Diggs, the coaches' reactions to that, the reaction of media and fans. There are several storylines that we can follow from this game into the postseason that I'm excited to talk to you guys about. So, right now, I'm going off my phone mic. So, yes, I'm going to be sitting here waiting for people to come in, and I'm going to set up my real mic. But yeah, the game is about to start in a few minutes, and we're going to see, what develops, what the team looks like, and what there is to talk about as the game goes on. We should see Jaden Blue. Um, in case you didn't catch it, like every other running back is hurt, including Phil Maffa. So whatever they do in terms of the running game, which has seemed to be really integral to the Cowboys offense as a whole, uh, Blue is going to have to prove that he can handle it. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there, who they use, since I don't think they're going to want to rely just on Blue, because we got to remember the Cowboys do want to win this game. They're looking forward to ending the season at 500, which would be good for Brian Schottenheimer, the new coach. It'll be good for Dak, who's never had a losing season. And so they want to at least go 8-1. So while for a lot of fans, the season is already over, there's nothing for the Cowboys to play for. The Cowboys do at least want to go 8-1. So they're going to have some sort of answer, some sort of solution for the run game with everybody else being hurt besides Blue. So it'll be interesting to see if they try to use Turpin, if they take a risk, what I would consider a risk, and try to use CD. So that'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if Milton gets some snaps in. So yeah, we don't really know what this team is going to look like today. I think a lot of people are going to be watching the defense, because while the offense has been very vocal about wanting to win this game, the idea of the defense playing for Eberflus, that doesn't exactly sound like something that's going to happen. As a matter of fact, a lot of people are really just counting down the days until Eberflus is gone, which the Cowboys have more on the line when it comes to whether to keep him or get rid of him than just a good defense. Like, whether what they decide to do with Matt Eberflus could actually have brand implications. It could have implications for the future trajectory and maybe even valuations of the Dallas Cowboys. And we'll talk about that like during one of the commercial breaks or maybe halftime. But yeah, there's a lot of good storylines in this game. If you're somebody who follows the team from preseason to offseason, there's storylines to talk about today. So we'll talk about them as the game goes on. Kickoff is happening in a few minutes. Right now, they're showing Dak on the sideline, got his little beanie on. Wait, hold on. I think sometimes my broadcast falls behind, and I'm like, this should have started already. No, it says we're live. So, all right, yeah, there's the kick. I was behind by a little bit. But yeah, if you're watching, feel free to sound off in the comments. We can talk. I like for this to be conversational. Oh, happy New Year, by the way. I haven't said that. I haven't done a show since 2025. So this is my first show of the new year. So happy New Year to everybody. I hope the year is going well for all of you. Let me see what my mics are doing. What is going on with Aubrey? Even Anger is looking at him like, yo, what the hell, fam? Aubrey's had a relatively rough season by his standards. Like, I feel like if you were to take his numbers and give them to most people, it would be considered solid for a kicker. But like, I don't know what just happened there. That was very weird. So if you're watching this and you're like, how did the Giants get such good field position? It's because that kick didn't go nowhere. But luckily, the Cowboys defense seems ready to make a stop. Only a few yards on that first play by the Giants, deciding to run the ball on their first play of the game. All right. So I think my mic is dead. So I'm going to keep going off this mic. Let me know if you can't hear me, though. But I'm going to keep going off this mic while this one... and by this, I mean my phone mic. I'm going to keep going off my phone mic. Even though the sound isn't as good, I'm going to keep going off that one until this one charges. All right. So we got the Giants still on the field. 3rd and 2 for the Giants. Jackson Dart is in shotgun. Cowboys with a 4-man front. It could make a stop here and kind of nullify whatever just happened with that kickoff. And what's become a signature for the Cowboys this season, somebody misses a tackle. They had an opportunity. Dono was right there to drop the guy behind the line of scrimmage, but somehow just didn't wrap his arms up. Guy just brushed him off and ends up getting the first down. So the Giants are still on the field. Stuff like that is the reason why I've said that they need to get rid of more than just Matt Eberflus, because I'm like, scheme is one thing, but these guys have not been able to tackle all fucking season, and that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Like, to see professionals go out there and that's the best you can do on a 3rd down, who's responsible for that? I don't think it's Eberflus by himself. I think Eberflus is in charge. So, yeah, he is responsible in a sense, but there's somebody else who is either not doing their job or falling short when you see guys have sorry attempts at a tackle like that. All season, it's looked like that, you know? So, yeah, they definitely need to do a rundown. They've got a lot to change up here. And it looks like the Cowboys' defensive line is taking over. They're like, well, since it seems like nobody else can tackle, we're just going to try to make the stop right here at the line. So twice in a row, they've done that, bringing up 3rd and long for the Giants. And so maybe the defensive line will take it into their own hands and get this Giants offense off the field. All right. We got defensive linemen in the A and B gaps. No, the B and C gaps. Clowney trying to get to Dart. Dart gets the ball off, but it looks like Clowney rattled him because that ball, I don't know who that was going to. It looks like he was just trying to get it out of his hands and get away from Clowney. So good job on the defensive line. A few weeks ago, Clowney said something about, playing for his own legacy, playing for the name on the back of the jersey. I really do feel like that sentiment has spread to the rest of the defensive line because they continue to try to show up. They've tried to show up. The rest of the defense, there's a lot of work to be done there. Everything from personnel to form to technique to seemingly maybe even football IQ. I don't know. There's just a lot of problems on the defensive side of the ball. All right, Giants get their punt off. Wow. So the ball bounced right at the goal line. Right now, it looks like the refs are discussing whether or not the ball ever crossed the plane. So when they come back from commercial, we're going to see if the Cowboys are going to start pretty much on the goal line or if they're going to say the ball crossed the plane and the Cowboys can bring it out. Interesting stuff. A couple of interesting kicks in a row. So, yeah, so far, what I'm seeing from the defensive line is they're acting like they have something to play for, which is something you've heard from a lot of the vets, that they're playing for their reputations, they're playing for their pride. I like what I saw from them. But the missed tackles, the failure to make stops, I'm just like, I won't miss that. Yes, I'm trying. Let me just break the mic. But no, I won't miss that. I don't care if they clean out the whole defensive staff at this point, if I'm being quite honest, because the guys have looked atrocious. They've looked terrible. I mean, you can't, there's no excuse you can make for that. There's nothing that you can do to say like, oh, well, because like with Eberflus, for example, people are like, oh, well, he lost Micah Parsons. The team lost a teammate in the middle of the season. with the death of Marshawn Nealon, so on and so forth. Like, I've heard people make all manner of excuses, but when you're watching them and you look at the slow reaction time, you look at the inability to tackle, you look at what looks like confusion as like in terms of what they're supposed to be doing, especially when you look at the second level and beyond, the linebackers and back. It's just kind of like, no, there's no excuse. There's multiple people when it comes to the defensive coaches and staff who are not doing a good job, who are doing a terrible job. I'm trying to see if I can wear this mic and talk to you guys at the same time. I can, but I would need another cable. So we'll look for that at the next commercial break, and maybe we can make that happen. Anyway, so we got the Cowboys offense coming onto the field after the defense, specifically the Cowboys defensive line, made a magnificent stop. Well, I won't call it magnificent. They made a good stop. They did their job. But they're definitely the best. Let's see. I'm trying to see what they're saying about the placement of the ball. All right, so the Cowboys are starting on their own 1 yard line. Yikes. Hey, JV, good to see you in the chat. Ugh. All right, so George Pickens catches a pass. It looks like the Giants are trying to rip the ball away, which would give them very good field position, so I don't blame them for the attempt. But George Pickens catches a pass. I don't know if they're going to say it's forward progress was stopped or if they're going to count that last push and give him the first down. And it looks like it's 2nd and 1. And Lipke runs it out, gets the Cowboys the first down, and gives them a little breathing room. Takes the ball out to the 20. I need to refresh this tab and see what the win percentage probability is. JV says, I like the added effects. What added effects? Added effects of what? What are we talking about? All right, 1st and 10 for the Cowboys on their 19. Turpin has the ball. Gets smacked at the 25. So it looks like they're going to give him 6 yards or so. Right now, Next Gen Stats says the Cowboys have a 61% chance of winning. JV said, I don't remember the scoreboard. Oh, JV, I added that like a couple of weeks ago just to put something on the screen because I can't put the game on the screen. I wish I could. All right. We got CeeDee Lamb making a catch for the first down. So the Cowboys offense moving down the field. I think most people are expecting them to win this game. I think the only way the Cowboys don't win this game is if the Cowboys defense just completely fuck it up, honestly. So right now the game is still 0-0. Cowboys are on their first offensive drive of the game. Man, they're showing some of Dak's stats on the screen, and he really did have a great season. I hope he can keep this momentum of this season into next season when hopefully the Cowboys have a better defense. Might have been a turnover, though. Yeah, let me see that replay. But yeah, it looks like a turnover in favor of the Giants. Oh, Maffa is in the game. Looks like Dak just slipped. Yeah, he literally just slipped. They keep showing it over and over again, and he literally went into his drop back and just fell. It's weird. It's especially weird considering the fact that both him and Brandon Aubrey have had like these uncharacteristic missteps in this game in favor of the Giants, you know? And it's like, I believe the Giants field is fake, right? Yeah, that's definitely turf. So the only thing I can think is that it's slippery. Maybe they need longer spikes than they thought. I don't know. So there was an ineligible man down the field. Penalty was declined, which suggests the Cowboys are trying to get the Giants off the field. So they're like, we don't even want the penalty in terms of yards. We want them to run through their downs and get off the field. I wonder if anybody else is going to have a footing issue. Golly. Cowboys tackling is hideous. Hideous. Let's see what that did in terms of win probability. That's really large. All right, Cowboys win probability is dropped to 50%, 51%. All right, 3rd and 8 for the Giants. Jackson Dart is in shotgun. All right, good coverage by the Cowboys secondary. Hodgins goes up for it, but doesn't come down with it. And that brings up 4th and 8 for the... Is this man's name Triquez or Triquezy? I've heard Triquezy, but the announcers just said Triquez. I don't know, but Bridges was on that coverage. And it looks like the Giants are going to try to get it through the uprights. Let's see. Straight down the middle. All right, so Giants are first on the scoreboard. 3-0 Giants. And the Cowboys will have another chance to do something with it. We'll see if Dak makes any changes to his shoes. I don't know. I wonder if he felt any like slipperiness before he took that step. Because here's what I compare it to in my mind. Even though I've never played football, one of the things I think about is that when I played roller derby, we would always go out and test the track, because while it looks like just women on skates doing our thing, the truth is different floor types and different wheel types can come together in different ways that can affect how easy it is for you to stop. It can make the floor especially slippery, or just like weird textures between the wheel and the floor. So sometimes it's hard to go fast because it's too slippery to get a push off, so you need softer wheels. Sometimes it was hard to stop because it was too grippy, so we needed harder wheels, right? And so what looked really simple to onlookers, for us, sometimes we had to spend 30 minutes to an hour, especially on a new surface, trying to figure out, which wheels we needed in order to perform well on the track. And then sometimes like we might realize a bearing is stuck, sometimes we needed different toe stops. Like anything could happen. And so that's what I always think of whenever I see these guys and they have weird footing issues. I'm just like, to me, it kind of seems comparable to roller derby and our wheel issues. And so that's why I'm like, I wonder if Dak is going to make any changes with his shoes. I know sometimes cleats have like interchangeable spikes or whatever. I remember I'm watching a Fear Factor commercial, and I'm like, I remember when Fear Factor used to just be eating weird stuff. Now they actually got people in like these crazy situations, falling out of airplanes, diving into pits full of maggots. I don't know. It's just weird. Like this seems more like this is going beyond scary to like this might literally be hazardous to your health. JV said, hopefully Dak is on the bench now. No, not happening. They really do want to win this game. So, yeah, Dak is going to be in the game until the game is well in hand. But your boy Mafa was on there. You're right, JV. On the OG Fear Factor, they did do some weird stuff with tarantulas. All right. Turpin took a knee in the end zone, so the Cowboys are going to start with better field position than they did last time. All right, so Dak hands the ball off. What in the world was that? Dak hands the ball off on the first play of this drive. Blue gets a few yards. We got Dak in shotgun. Looks like two guys in the backfield there. BSF makes a catch, but they are going to give him the first down. I thought he was a little bit short of the sticks, but it looks like they're going to give him the first down there. So the broadcasters were talking about how the guys were saying that they feel like there's momentum that they can carry over into next season. So I'm just going to say whatever makes them feel better, they can say. I disagree. I don't think. All right, we get the ball off to Schoonmaker gets the first down. But yeah, I don't believe that there's momentum to be carried over. Like, I believe by the time August, preseason is in August. By the time August turns around, maybe even before then. Like, I feel like by the time you get to training camp, there's going to be such a change in personnel and staff and coaches. Whatever happens today won't have an impact on next summer unless somebody gets hurt. That's the only thing that's being carried over, you know? All right. So Blue gets the ball again. Looks like Blue's got a little bit more burst than the last time we saw him. So that's good to put on film today. But yeah, like, to me, I feel like the discussion about wanting to have a winning season, because like having a winning season, that can affect your legacy. That will impact the arguments people make for and against certain aspects of this season. So if you're like, I just really want to have a winning season. I personally feel like there are things more important than that, but at least that I can understand, you know? But to say like, oh no, I feel like we can carry over some momentum. Nah, fam. Oh, and Blue makes a carry to inside the 10. Nice. So Dak fakes the handoff, gets the pass off to Ferguson, who doesn't survive the contact with the ground. So it's 2nd and goal. That's going to count as incomplete. I'm watching Blue. They're about to show him. So what I will say, at least about this last run by Blue, I like the way that he chose the hole. There was almost no hesitation. It looks like he read his options way quicker than the last time we saw him. He looked, read, picked a direction, and shot through. And it got him, I don't know how many yards that was, but it was a lot. So props to Blue for stepping up. Like, sometimes being benched, especially if you go into a situation where you assume you're going to get snaps, you assume you're going to get playing time, and then all of a sudden you're benched. And then on top of being benched, you see someone. Okay, so for some reason, the Giants are challenging whether or not that was an incomplete pass. Anyway, we'll see what happens after the commercial break. But like I was saying, sometimes being benched and watching someone take your spot, it can change how you approach the game, you know? And then there's also the fact that sometimes people just need time to work shit out. It could be that, Blue just took a little bit. These Pizza Hut commercials are ridiculous. So yeah, it could just be that Blue needed more time. I've come across athletes like that where it's like some people just need more time, and the time that they need falls outside of the bounds of whatever the schedule is for the season. So it's like you might say, yo, I need my running backs to be ready by this date. And for whatever reason, whoever you've got in your running back room, they need more time than that. And sometimes it's as simple as that. Sometimes you can have the best mindset in the world, and it just takes time for your physical to catch up. I don't know why I'm so thirsty today. I'm about to check the weather and see if the humidity is low. I want to know, while we're on this commercial break, I want to know what storylines y'all are looking forward to in the off season. Sorry, somebody tried to call me. I had to handle that. Actually, maybe that's not a fair question considering the fact that JV is the only person active in the chat. But JV, if you do want to share, what storylines are you looking forward to in the off season? So looks like the ruling on the field stands. It was an incomplete pass. That's what I saw. I saw Ferguson not survive contact with the ground. So incomplete pass. So Giants lose a timeout. We can hear Dak's cadence loud and clear. And Blue tries to run it up the middle. Didn't work out very well. 3rd and goal for the Cowboys. What is happening to the sound? Okay, here we go. I think I lost y'all for a second. Yeah, it brings up 3rd and goal for the Cowboys. Hopefully they can do something here. Their red zone offense is one of the things that's kind of floundered all season. And that ball, you could tell it was overthrown once it left Dak's hands. So 3rd and goal, Dak gets the pass off, but it wasn't a very good one. Definitely looked like Dak was trying to go over Adebo and get it into the hands of Pickens. But he ended up just overthrowing everybody. So, all right, Brandon Aubrey. Hopefully he's worked out whatever happened in the beginning. So 32 yards, that's something he should be able to do. I don't have anything near me that I need. I'm looking for my I'm looking for my caffeine pills right now. I think I left them in the car. JV said January 7th, I want media markets all saying the Dallas Cowboys are asking for permission to interview such and such coach from whoever team. I'm with you. So this might be a good time to talk about what I figured out about this coaching search. Because JV, I think before you joined, one of the things I said was that there's a lot on the line for the Cowboys, with how they choose to handle this situation with Eberflus, and the thing is, there are some people who are like, well, they don't want to have another situation where they're switching coordinators. They don't want to keep going with that inconsistency. But here's the thing that I was reading about. towards the end of 2025, there were several different consumer research studies done, basically looking into how the younger generation picks a team that they go for. Um, because if you've been a Cowboys fan, you've heard it that the Cowboys have the biggest fan base in the entire world. Like there are countries all over the world where the Dallas Cowboys are popular, so on and so forth. Even when I interviewed Ken Rogers of NFL Films recently, one of the things that we talked about was if the Cowboys still had that top spot, without a doubt. And what was interesting was Ken Rogers said that the Cowboys still are at the top of the totem pole when it comes to the most popular NFL teams and who people like talking about most. But he did mention that some other teams will tie them occasionally. And the reason why that's interesting to me is because what these consumer studies were showing is the fact that the younger generation, they don't pick their favorite team the way that older generations did. So one of the things that I talk about a lot is the fact that I was born a Saints fan. I was born in Lake Charles, Louisiana. My family watched Saints games. They rooted for the Saints. I ended up being a Saints fan. Over time, it became less and less desirable for me to talk about the Saints in the same way. They still hold a special place in my heart because of nostalgia. I still follow them, keep up with the team, but my favorite players play for the Cowboys. And players is one of the main reasons, or one of the main ways that like Gen Z, that's how they choose their team. They're more likely to follow specific players than a specific team. And if their parents rooted for a team that they don't like, so like let's say there are kids who, their dad loved the Dallas Cowboys. And so they're raised, quote unquote, in a Cowboys household. But then they go into these online communities where a lot of Gen Zers spend a lot of their time, and they're getting roasted for being a Cowboys fan. Or maybe they're being roasted, and on top of being roasted, they realize that there's another team that they like. Maybe they're a Shedeur Sanders fan. Maybe they are a fan of Jackson Dart. He's young, he's popular. Maybe they like the, suave stoicism of Jalen Hurts. So it's like if they're being roasted in their group chats, but they have friends who are Eagles fans or friends who are Browns fans, they'll switch teams. You can kind of compare it to like how first generation immigrants will come to America and they might have a different religion or political affiliation than their parents did. They might assimilate to the mainstream culture differently than their parents did. It's similar to that, right? So when it comes to the Cowboys, whatever they decide to do with this coaching situation and however the defense looks moving forward and however Jerry Jones handles it, it could not only impact the defense for next season, it could literally make or break how Gen Z looks at the Dallas Cowboys and therefore impact the Dallas Cowboys fan base in the future. So something really interesting to think about. And the Giants have the ball. They're making the way downfield. It looks like they just converted a second down to get a fresh set of downs right around midfield. JV said, bring Bones Fossil back. So everybody gets his name. I don't want to say wrong, but sure, we'll still go with Bones Fossil. Do they call him that in Tennessee? Do they still call him Bones? Because his name is John Fossil. And I know, like, Cowboys people started calling him Bones. I don't know if he kept that name in Tennessee. And the Giants are letting it fly now. So here's what I think happened in those first couple of drives. Jackson Dart didn't like the pressure he was dealing with from the defensive line. And they realized that's the strongest segment of the Cowboys defense. So now what we're seeing is the Giants are getting the ball out quick so that it's harder for the defensive linemen to get to him. They don't have enough time. And they're basically taking advantage of the linebackers in the secondary, really going for some explosive plays. Now Dart is scrambling himself. Gets the first down and then some. But Dart has a lot of options in his toolbox as far as not having to deal with the defensive line. So if that's the only part of the defense that decided to show up today, well, the Cowboys defense is going to have a bad time. And just like that, the Giants are at 1st and goal. So it's a tie game. Cowboys are on their own. Cowboys. The Giants are on their own 10-yard line. We got Jackson Dart under center. And that was Quinnen Williams with the stop. That runner did not go anywhere. Got stopped behind the line of scrimmage, as a matter of fact. Who was it? So it was Davenport with the ball and Williams. No, Singletary, my bad. Stops. So Williams stopped him immediately. All right, 2nd and goal for the Giants on the Cowboys 12. So terrible coverage, honestly, by Kalen Carson. But luckily that pass just didn't go well. So apparently Kalen Carson thought there was some offensive pass interference there. Here's what I'm going to say about that. First of all, even if there was, you don't give up like that just because you thought we were interfered with. You played through the fucking whistle. Secondly, if you've been paying attention to the game, you already kind of know, and Jackson Dart sack, you already kind of know that when it comes to that hand checking, that hand fighting, the refs are kind of letting it go today. So I need Kalen Carson to get his shit together in terms of his mindset, because that is not what I want to see from my cornerbacks. The fuck was that? Anyway, a whole play has happened since then. And so it looks like Jadeveon Clowney is doing what he does, wreaking havoc, flushing quarterbacks out the pocket, and gets a sack. Jackson Dart is going to have nightmares about Jadeveon Clowney. JV says, did that phrase man work? I think it did. I think that's why the numbers keep going up and then falling back down. Because I think there are people who are coming to try to like spam my chat again and it's not working and then they leave. Which is fine. I'm okay with that. But yeah, seeing what we just saw from Kalen Carson, that's the type of shit that makes me want to be like, all right, get him off the team. He can go too. Eberflus can go. The entire defensive staff can go. Well, except for Aaron Whitecotton. We can keep him. But everybody else can go, including Kalen Carson, if that's how he's going to handle it when he thinks somebody got too physical with him. I don't give a fuck if somebody pushed you down to the ground. If you don't hear the fucking whistle, you get your ass up and you get back into coverage as quickly as possible. You don't fucking just stop and look around like you're waiting for the flag and you didn't hear a damn whistle. Oh my God. If I was his coach, I would still be cussing his ass out on the sideline. The fuck was that? What are you doing? I'm sorry. Shit like that just pisses me off. It makes me so mad. I might have to run out to my car at some point, maybe during halftime or something. Looks like my mic is plugged in or charged now. JV, you said the audio is good? I'm using the phone mic instead of my typical mic. So I wasn't sure if it sounded like I was far away or if maybe there was an echo. Because I don't have like a plugged in mic at all right now. And we've got a Dak hater in the chat. I'm not even arguing with the Dak haters today. So JMFU, I don't recognize your name, so it might be your first time in one of my watch alongs. But yeah, I don't. You can state your case. You might have a point that I haven't heard yet. It looks like Turpin is trying to finally get a run in for a TD. Doesn't quite get there. Gets close to the 10-yard line, but hell yeah, that was very. That might be the best KaVontae Turpin run we've seen all season on a kick return. In what ways is Dak inconsistent? Dak has literally been the most consistent part of the entire team this season. See, JV, this is why I typically don't even engage with people who are like, get rid of Dak, because they never say anything that actually makes sense. It's usually something that they heard from somebody else who also didn't provide any support, any sort of support, statistics, examples for what they're saying. They just don't like Dak for whatever reason. And then they're like, Dak's too inconsistent. Really? Show me where Dak, who is ranked first in damn near every statistic for QBs in the NFL this season, show me where he's been the inconsistent one. The dude who has showed up for every game. Like, the only thing that might have been inconsistent is the shit that he can't control, like pressures and sacks, which it's literally not his job to control. Like, in the most literal sense, it's not his job. Dang. The Cowboys just made their way down the field. Jaden Blue for the touchdown. Blue's looking good today. I love that. But yeah, in the games where Dak has not put up numbers, he's been pressured and he's been sacked, and or the running game couldn't get going, which we know, which is the case for. He needs to be more mobile. He's run more this season than he has in recent seasons. In at least 2 or 3 seasons. What in the world are you talking about? Are you real or are you like a bot? Are you a bot? Did somebody program you to say these things? Are you like studying fan reactions? Because like, fam, no. He's inconsistent, needs to be more mobile. Like, that sounds like things that would be said by people who have not watched the game the entire season. JV, not only has Javonte Williams more than handled the run game this season, but when Dak has run, it's looked pretty damn good. Like, we've seen the best Dak Prescott rushing, running, scrambling game this year. Like, this motherfucker literally did a somersault into the end zone one game. And folks in my chat talking about he needs to be more mobile. What, you want him to do a backflip next time? The fuck? JV, you don't have to kick this person. They're like, I don't mind a person spewing nonsense. I'm just laughing at the fact that it's nonsense. How you watch your 30-plus-year-old QB do a somersault into the end zone and be like, he's not mobile enough. What? Okay, now I know you're ridiculous. Saying Phillip Rivers moves better than Dak Prescott? Laughable. But you know what? You do you. Like, I kind of need this example because it's been a while since I had a Dak hater in my chat. And so sometimes I'm just like, when people say they don't like Dak, should I hear them out? And so, like, now I have a fresh, current example of why I don't respect people who say the Cowboys should get rid of Dak. Now I don't have to go back to, like, last season, the last time I heard this stuff. Now I can be like, oh, no, last week, this person was in my chat and listen to this shit that they were saying about Dak Prescott. Do you think they watched the Cowboys game all season? Because I don't. I don't think they've watched Cowboys this entire year. I'm a Cowboys fan and I'm tired of losing. That's fair. And Dak is the constant. No. Dak has been here, don't get me wrong. But, like, he's not the reason that the Cowboys haven't made it back to the playoffs. And proof of that is the fact that you can't even give a good reason. You can't even give a real reason. Like, everything that you're saying is literally not true. So it's like, it's fine if you just want to be like, you know what, I'm an emotional fan and I don't know why the Cowboys are losing. But I don't like Dak because he's been here the whole time. All right, be an emotional fan. It's normal. Human beings have emotions. You being upset that your team is losing, that is fair. But to just make up shit about Dak Prescott that's not true because you're emotional that your team is losing is ridiculous. Like, I just want to be like, not only for Cowboys fans, for NFL fans, it's okay to say that you don't know. Yeah, the league is run by QBs who can run and throw. And guess what? Dak can run and throw. And guess what? A lot of those teams with quarterbacks that can run or throw, a lot of them haven't been to the playoffs either. A lot of them haven't been to the Super Bowl either. Jalen Hurts is not that great of a thrower. This year hasn't been that great of a runner. And guess what? They're going to the playoffs. They'll probably make a deep run. Like, Dak Prescott can run and throw. Dak Prescott is not the reason the Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl. Cowboys fans, NFL fans, okay? It's okay to say that you don't know, okay? There's a lot of factors that a team has to get right in order to make it to the playoffs, in order to make it to the Super Bowl. There's a lot of factors. There are teams this year that, like, on paper, look like they should be able to go, that on film, you would say, that's a good team. It's unfortunate that they're missing. And they just won't get there. And in the past, the Cowboys have been that team, you know? It's okay to just say you don't know. You don't have to blame quarterbacks that are actually doing a completely sufficient job at quarterback. You can just be like, I don't know. I don't know, and I don't like the Cowboys, that the Cowboys aren't winning. It's fine. It's fine. Dak Prescott is going to the Pro Bowl this season for the first time in multiple years. Like, he's done really well. And if we're really watching these games and how they play out, if it weren't for the defense, and I mean this in the most literal sense, if it weren't for the defense, the Cowboys would have a completely different record. The Cowboys probably would have qualified for the postseason. CeeDee Lamb drops catches that I'm sure I can catch. Okay, now we can ignore this guy. Don't kick him, JV, but, like, we don't have to respond anymore because now this person just sounds ridiculous. Like, to say that is disrespectful to the jobs of actual professional athletes. Just ignore this person, JV. Oh, I haven't refreshed the probability in a while. All right, so the score is now 10-6. And Next Gen Stats says that the Cowboys have a 60% chance of winning. And that could definitely change if the Cowboys don't learn how to fucking tackle. Goodness. I don't know why the screen isn't showing the score. I keep refreshing and it's not. So, score is 10-6. Just know that. JV, I don't mind them coming back. Fam, we're not saying you have a low IQ because you want your team to win. We want the Cowboys to win too. We're saying you have a low football IQ because what you're saying makes no sense. You're saying things that make it sound like you have a low football IQ. That's why we're saying that. All right, looks like 2nd and 7 is coming up. I could tell y'all about the formations if the broadcast wasn't zooming in on Clowney's shoulder. All right, we've got Dart in shotgun. We've got a guy in motion, so it looks like the Cowboys defense is in zone. So they had 4 on the line, sent 2 late for a little bit of a delayed blitz. Didn't seem to make a difference. Dart got the ball out, and the Giants got a first down. So one thing you can say about Jackson Dart is he'll run sometimes, but there are a lot of instances where you see him really stand up and face the pressure, because those were 2 guys who were coming straight at him, practically untouched, but he still made sure to get the ball out. To me, what that says is when it comes to Jackson Dart, you get him with the right scheme, the right coach, the right play caller to where he feels like he has an answer no matter what the situation is, and he's going to be even more dangerous, because right now he's good. Like, despite the Giants' record, I don't think one would say that Dart himself sucks, right? But what you see happen is there are times when he panics, when he doesn't seem to know what to do. But the times when he has an answer, when they have a play drawn up that's supposed to work, like what we just saw, with that looks like that run that he just did was an option. Like, that wasn't a scramble like he panicked. That looks like, okay, he had the option to pass or take the ball himself and carry it, and he carried. Royal, what's up? Happy New Year to you too. Good to see you in the chat. But yeah, what Jackson Dart needs is a play caller who can make sure he has an answer for as many scenarios as possible. Because when he has the answer and he's able to really take control of the situation, he doesn't panic like that. He doesn't end up scrambling and getting himself sacked. He can run through his options really, really quickly. But it just seems like there are some situations that he's in where it's like he's not really sure of what to do, and that's when he starts to make mistakes. And on that one, I love Jadeveon Clowney. They got to bring him back. Oh my God. All right. So, see, that was a scramble. Dart still got positive yards. Looks like he got 2 or 3 yards, but it still leads to a 4th down for the Giants. I think they're going to kick it through the uprights again, and the Cowboys will get the ball back. That wasn't even perfect coverage by the Dallas Cowboys. It was solid coverage, but he did have a couple of targets that were open. It's just that those targets were kept on the move, and it seemed like Dart didn't really know where to go. Give him some time. Give him some time. Like, once Dart starts getting used to situations like that to where he can think through them a little bit more quickly, oh my God, he's going to be a force. JV said Sanborn wouldn't have made that tackle. Oh my God. So you just made me think about Matt Eberflus's most recent press conference, and I am so sick of him defending his linebacker choices, because they were asking him about Kenneth Murray and Logan Wilson, and they were asking, like, what is it about these guys that has justified their play time this season? And he said something about how they're both still learning the Mike position. And I'm just like, okay, well, if they're still learning the Mike position, why not allow Maris Leofold to also learn the Mike position? Yeah, I know there are ads, JV. YouTube just does that. Sorry. But yeah, what's wrong with Maris Leofold learning the Mike position? Like, I still don't understand how you justify the lack of opportunities, the lack of snaps, and the lack of development for Maris Leofau. Because did he have trouble making tackles properly? Yes. Um, but it's not like they were replacing him with perfect linebackers. Like, the only way you get better at tackling in those situations is with experience. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, you get better at football by playing football. Sorry, these commercials, these commercials distract me. But yeah, I just really hated the fact that he was really trying to defend his choices there and talk about things like leadership, talking about things like Kenneth Murray having like showing good leadership. Like what? Okay, well if that's the case, give him a headset if you think he's that good at leadership. Like we need dudes who can actually get on the field and do a job. And if we don't have guys who can get on the field and do a job, then at least let's try to develop a guy who has some potential. So it's like not only did you put inadequate replacements on the field, but you basically wasted an entire season for somebody who last season we thought could have been one of the future key pieces of the Dallas Cowboys defense. And this has basically turned out to be a wasted season for Maris Leofau. So it's just like, for me, the list of grievances against Matt Eberflus just gets longer and longer. And when he goes into press conferences and says shit like that, it definitely doesn't help. While we're talking about people with low football IQ, I hate to say it about a defensive coordinator, but sometimes Matt Eberflus talks like a person with low football IQ. Like, what? JV, you're going to point out all the instances of Dak Prescott being mobile. Okay, so the humidity is kind of low today, 43%. That helps me understand why the breathing and talking isn't going too well today. All right, 2nd and 9 for the Cowboys on their own 33. So Dak gets the ball, quick toss out to Flournoy. I thought somebody said he was hurt this week too. Anyway, Flournoy gets the first down. JV, thanks for saying my voice sounds fine. I'm glad it sounds okay because it doesn't feel too good, you know? We got about 8.5 minutes left in the second quarter. So if y'all want to start putting stuff y'all want to talk about during halftime into the chat, just so I can make sure I can get to it, you can go ahead and do that. All right, we got Blue with more yards. Let me watch this run. Yeah, Jaden Blue's footwork looks way different. Whatever was causing him to like hesitate and question his decisions before, it doesn't look like it's there today. He looks great. Can we fire Eberflus at halftime? If it was up to me, he would already been fired. Honestly, because I've been saying that I feel like the sooner you start this search for his replacement, the better. But we can talk about some of the rumored replacements at halftime and the likelihood of any of those things happening. Where's Maffa? I don't know, JV. I haven't seen Maffa in a few snaps. I think Next Gen Stats is ahead of me because I definitely refreshed the page and it talked about Lipke running up the middle before I saw it on the screen. I don't know, cover your eyes if you don't want accidental spoilers. I'm just trying to see what it does. Okay, we got the score up now. All right, we got Dak Prescott to Flournoy, who tips the ball up. The ball was there, just didn't quite get it in his hands. Let's look at this in slow-mo. Flournoy goes up for it. Looks like his hands just weren't quite in the right position. It hit his right hand, but then like went behind his left. So his hands were a little bit off. All right, 2nd and 10. We got Dak Prescott in shotgun. Hands it off to Blue. Goes around the formation and gets a first down. Now, what I don't want to happen with Javonte Williams being a free agent, I don't want them to see this game from Blue. Oh, look, CD blocking. Okay, see you, CD Lamb with the block. Helping Blue get some yards. I love it. All right. Dak Prescott to BSF over the middle. Gets a first down and then some, so it looks like the Cowboys are going to end up in the red zone again. But yeah, I don't want the Cowboys to see this game from Blue and then start thinking like, oh, we don't need Javonte Williams. Like the Cowboys have like buku cap space right now. They need to go ahead and make sure they lock up Javonte Williams. One thing I'm looking forward to this summer, I wouldn't mind seeing like a Jadon Blue, Malik Davis, Javonte Williams competition at training camp. Hands off to Blue again. He only gets about a yard this time. Exactly, JV. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about with Blue being a draft pick. Now, I will say, considering how they did Mozzie this year, considering how they did Micah, I will say it seems like they're a little bit less attached to the draft picks than they have been in the past, which, as controversial as those decisions were, kind of suggests that if it feels like the right thing to do, they'll still sign Javonte Williams. It feels like that status as a draft pick might not exactly mean what it once did to the Cowboys front office. All right, 3rd and 6. I don't know if checking it down to Lipke was the choice I would have gone with there. Not on 3rd down. But maybe he felt like that was his best option. I don't know. I just know I don't like it because it's like you're on 3rd down. You need like 6 or 7 yards. And while Lipke's been solid at times, expecting him to get 6 to 7 yards a yak is asking a lot from him. From him. All right, so now we got 4th and 2. Cowboys are going for it. Let's see what they do. Dak is under center. We got, who is that in the backfield? I don't think that's Blue. Is that Maffa? We got CD in the slot to Dak's left. George out wide to his right. And it looks like they're going to go ahead and taking a timeout. I don't know if they're taking a timeout because they wanted the Giants to jump off sides, which almost nobody does anymore. Or if they just need the timeout and the offense is going to stay out there. Shotty's still talking, which suggests that the offense is going to go back out. You said they should have taken the delay of game? Why? It looks like the offense is going back out. Shotty never stopped talking in the headset. I think they really just did need to regroup, and they really are going for it. I can't tell who that is in the backfield. But we got Dak in shotgun now instead of under center. So pass incomplete. Dak got chased out the pocket, but there's a flag. But on who is the question? JV, I thought they were going to kick the field goal too because they haven't really been great in this situation all season. So it looks like holding on the Cowboys. New York declined the penalty so they could take over naturally. Oh boy, they're going to have to workshop the fuck out of this red zone offense in the offseason. Like, it makes no sense to be that close to the goal line against the Giants, and not be able to punch it in. Like, what are we doing? Add protein to your favorite drink. Okay, so that's the Starbucks commercial. I'm not a fan of protein in coffee. Let's just say it does weird things to your digestive system. All right, so the Giants are going to have the ball with about 3 minutes left. Now the Cowboys get the ball after halftime, so at least there's that. The Cowboys can't like dominate the middle 8. Yes, I'm yawning a lot, y'all. I'm so sorry. All right, so rewinding to something that I said earlier about how Gen Z chooses their favorite team. That doesn't necessarily translate to bad valuations. And valuations ultimately is going to be the thing that determines a lot of what Jerry Jones does and doesn't decide to do, which might be part of the reason why he hasn't really, I don't want to say he doesn't care about what the fan base says, but he doesn't seem to be really worried about capturing this Gen Z market or just overall keeping fans happy. But then again, I think if any of us had an asset that was worth 13 billion, we might think a little bit differently about things too. So when it comes to, Jerry Jones, if we had an asset ourselves worth 13 billion, we might be a little bit more understanding. You know what I'm saying? But I say all that to say, while there are all these studies coming out saying, these are all the ways that the Cowboys could potentially lose some percentage of the NFL market, some percentage of their fan base, it may not make as big of a difference as some people might think. And the Cowboys defense just committed a neutral zone infraction. It was Solomon Thomas who jumped. Looks like he's being taken off the field. JV, don't call Solomon Thomas an idiot. I don't know what just happened there. Maybe that was an idiotic move. I don't know. I like him for the most part. He said he's literally right beside the ball. That was a bad look by Solomon Thomas. And it looks like the Giants really are trying to do something with these couple of minutes that they have before halftime. And Jackson Dart fooled everybody. Really looked like he handed the ball off, but apparently he kept it. Got 5 to 6 yards. I think I could be wrong. Yeah, 5 yards. And slid. So somebody's calling a timeout. 2nd and 5 for the Giants. Oh, if you're watching, by the way, don't forget to hit the like button, please. Me yawning this much is not a good sign. All right, so right now it's 10 to 9. I'm checking to see the win probability. It's now down to 59% for the Cowboys. I was hoping this game wouldn't be so close, to be honest. But I mean, we've had some weird occurrences for the Cowboys so far in the game. I mean, the game started with that. I don't know how many of y'all saw it, but the weird kickoff by Brandon Aubrey that hardly went anywhere. And then you had Dak turn the ball over literally by slipping. Didn't trip over anybody, wasn't pushed, wasn't even really pressured, just went for his drop back, took a step back, and slipped and fell, turned the ball over. JV, are you going to be watching the playoffs even though the Cowboys aren't in it? I'm trying to decide if I want to do watch alongs during the playoffs, just like probably following the Bears, honestly. All right, 2 minutes left in the second quarter. 2nd and 5 for the Giants. Jackson Dart in shotgun. Incomplete pass. I really feel like Dono could have picked that off, but didn't happen. Okay, so JV said half-heartedly, so casually. Cool. The main reason why I think I might not do the watch-alongs is because, like, okay, so watch-alongs are fun, right? The reason why I think I might not, though, is because sorry, I'm waiting for this for the ball to get snapped. All right, first down for the Giants. So they're making their way down the field. They might actually score with less than 2 minutes. 2 minutes is kind of like a long time in NFL time now. So 1st and 10. Dart gets sacked again, but it looks like there's a flag down. We don't know who it's against. The fans are yelling to decline it. I still don't even know what the penalty is. So apparently that's Jadeveon Clowney yelling to decline it so that Easy still gets his sack. But who's the penalty on? And the Cowboys are taking the penalty, so Easy does not get his sack credited. I do like Jadeveon Clowney advocating so hard for his teammate, though. I do appreciate that. I respect it. There must be nobody in that stadium because you can hear everything that is happening on the field. Every single thing. Maybe I'll get back into following the Saints a little bit in the off season. See what their storylines are. JV said, "Who's actually going to watch the gadgets? Who's the gadgets, JV?" All right, second and 21 for the Giants. Looks like they only got about 4 or 5 yards. Flag is thrown for, I'm not sure who it's on. It better not be on Murray. So, what was looking like a few great defensive stops in a row for the Cowboys just turned into giving the Giants a much needed first down for them because Kenneth Murray is an asshat. If the Giants take a lead into the locker room, I'm blaming Kenneth Murray. I'm so sick of him. All right, Jackson Dart in shotgun. Gets the first down and then some. Reddy Stewart makes a tackle, but I mean, now the Giants are like in scoring range. They can get a touchdown or a field goal from here and take a lead into halftime, which is ridiculous. But JV, Shoddy has a policy that the team has to go up together and come back together. We can't back them up at halftime. That would be against policy. I noticed the cameras aren't like showing any shots of the stadium either, which is another thing that makes me think that the stadium must be empty. JB said use that as an excuse to get rid of him. Policy violation. When they were talking about Diggs, they gave no specific information. They were just like, it was performance and other factors. I would pay actual money to hear him say that about Eberflus. Like, why did Eberflus disappear at halftime? Well, it was a performance and other issues. Was performance and other issues. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so that flipped pass by Jackson Dart was inspired, but the fact that not a single damn Cowboys player could catch the runner after that is fucking pathetic. What? I'm so upset. I'm so upset. Yes, the DB suck at tackling, JB. The DB suck at tackling. If the Cowboys lose this game, Matt Eberflus needs to be fired tomorrow. Cause like I get, that they've been talking about like, well, we've got to do the evaluations. Like, what are you expecting this man to evaluate? Like, what is he really going to say, or like, what valuable input or feedback could Matt Eberflus possibly have? Get him gone. Start the coaching search. The sooner you do it, the better. Frederick Johnson said DC candidates Carl Scott, Seattle's pass game coordinator, Jim Leonard, Broncos PGC, Aubrey Pleasant, LA Rams PGC, or Jimmy Lake. Durante Jones. Okay, so Frederick, I don't recognize your name, so welcome. Thank you for this list. I will say I haven't heard this list yet. The names that I've been hearing, and let's be real, the names that I've been hearing are probably the ones people are throwing out for headlines. The Brian Flores, who else? Jim Schwartz is relatively reasonable. Aaron White Cotton, I think, is what some fans have been saying. Fans who are just like, they just like Aaron White Cotton. And I think recently I heard Ed Ogeron, which I'm not sure how to feel about the Ed Ogeron thing. I haven't really looked into it, but I like this list. Thank you. I'm going to take a screenshot of this. But yeah, at this point, I wouldn't even trust Eberflus's feedback, which would be the only reason to even keep him around, is if you were really trying to say, oh, well, we want to make sure that we have, God damn, the Cowboys win probability just dipped. It's down to 34% now. But yeah, if you were like, we have players to evaluate and we want to make sure that we do. Hold on, they're about to show this in slow motion again. So they're saying the flip created a natural lane. That natural lane was over the span of 20 fucking yards though, and none of them caught him. There's no excuse. Anyway, back to what I was saying. But yeah, they're like, they're players that we need to evaluate. KaVontae Turpin can run it in for a touchdown. Not happening. But even if you thought that there were players to evaluate, do you actually trust Matt Eberflus's feedback on any of that? Because I personally don't. I do not. And the penalty is against the return team. I'm going to look and see if there's been any developments regarding it, but I really feel like Brian Flores is probably going to stay with the Vikings. Rumors fly of Brian Flores to Raiders with Brian Daboll as OC. New York Giants have a chance to hire the right Brian Flores. So it looks like if he goes to the Raiders, they're thinking about making him a head coach again. That'd be cool. Let me see. I'm looking at this one article from the Landry Hat. It says Brian Flores has Cowboys fans full attention after cryptic Vikings remarks. I'm scrolling. So apparently Brian Flores said this. He said, I love Minnesota. I love this team. I love working for and with KO, which is Kevin O'Connell. He's been fantastic to me. I think the Wolves are some of the best owners in the league. I love these players, the coaching staff, and like I said, Minnesota has shown me a lot of love, and I show it right back. So I don't know how much more there is to it. I mean, if everything lines up and fits, and it fits, from a football standpoint, it fits. I think there's always, let's call it a business part of this. The football all lines up, and we'll just see where it goes. So I guess that's his way of saying that it's not personal, it's business in terms of whether or not he chooses to stay with the Vikings. And there are just some things to be considered. So yeah, I would say he phrased that well. But one thing I will say about the Flores possibility is this. I think one, if he moves somewhere, he's going to want to go somewhere where there's a possibility for him to move up and be a head coach again. I don't think the odds of that are very good with the Cowboys. So I just don't see it being a good fit from that perspective. Now, some people have talked about the fact that Brian Flores has this whole this lawsuit against the NFL, which is still ongoing. Like, some people have made it sound like it's over, but the lawsuit actually is ongoing. And people have been like, well, would Jerry Jones actually hire somebody who's got a lawsuit against the NFL? I think he would, and here's why. Because Jerry Jones doesn't like the fucking Rooney Rule anyway. Jerry Jones has never liked it. And the reason why Jerry Jones didn't like the Rooney Rule is because of a lot of the criticism people have of it right now. Jerry Jones has always said the Rooney Rule encourages people to have basically these fake, non-genuine interviews in order to satisfy the Rooney Rule, knowing good and well that they aren't going to hire some of the people that they're being forced to interview because of the Rooney Rule. And you can feel how you want to feel about it, but I believe that's a good ass point. It's why even a lot of black people, even a lot of black coaches in the NFL themselves don't like the Rooney Rule and the way that it's enforced. So while people want to judge Jerry Jones for what he said about it, is he wrong though? Is he wrong though? Right? And so when it comes to this lawsuit, I feel like Jerry Jones is going to be like, well, Like, you suing the NFL over some shit that I said too. Like, on this, we can actually agree, because that's essentially the crux of Brian Flores' lawsuit against the NFL. Because I don't know how many people remember the details, but basically he was getting ready to interview for, was it the Giants? I don't know. It was something where the team had already hired another coach named Brian, and Bill Belichick texted Brian Flores congratulating him before he even had his interview, and they ended up hiring, I want to say it was the Giants when they hired Brian Daboll. I don't remember. Anyway, yes, the lawsuit is still ongoing. Will that impact the odds of Brian Flores ending up with the Cowboys? I don't think the lawsuit will. I think the fact that Brian Flores won't be able to see himself moving up with the Cowboys, I think that will impact the likelihood of that becoming a thing way more than anything going on with the lawsuit. So Caleb Williams is walking into the stadium with Ben Johnson's high school jersey, which looks a lot like a Packers jersey. Interesting. JV said Diggs is losing. What's happening with Diggs? Is he losing his matchups? Is that what's happening? That would be interesting. I thought it was interesting in Brian Schottenheimer's press conference when he was like, oh yeah, I wish Trevon Diggs the best. I think he's going to go on and continue to play good football. And I'm just like, he wasn't really playing good football with the Cowboys though. Now, hopefully he'll get better. I'm not wishing bad on anybody. Green Bay is losing. Hold on, let me look that up. Green Bay's been losing since Micah Parsons got hurt. Oh, 13-0. Vikings. Speaking of the Vikings, let's see if anybody else has anything to say about Brian Flores. Odds of Brian Flores becoming Cowboys DC. Let me see where they are with this lawsuit anyway, because the reason why I'm curious about Brian Flores' lawsuit is because I feel like, and this might be a little bit of stretch, but like, walk with me here. I almost feel like the NFL has incentive to let Brian Flores win the lawsuit because nobody actually likes the Rooney Rule. And if Brian Flores actually wins this lawsuit, even though the lawsuit isn't specifically about the Rooney Rule, I feel like it would give the NFL basically the leeway. It would give them some space. It would give them a reason to re-examine the Rooney Rule and replace it without somebody having to throw themselves in front of that proverbial car and say, we hate this rule. It was poorly implemented. Let's change it. If Brian Flores wins this lawsuit, that basically gives them an open door to be like, all right, let's rethink this. Now that we've lost this lawsuit, wink, wink, about discrimination, wink, wink, we should probably come back to this, which is something that they need to do anyway. I think the issue that they're having right now with the way the litigation is unfolding is that they didn't want it to go to trial. I think they wanted to kind of decide some things behind the scenes and have Flores be happy, but it's actually going to trial. And I think what they don't want is for certain things to come out during discovery. I think that's the issue the NFL is having. That's what they're really fighting Brian Flores on more than anything. It's like, we don't want this to go to trial. We don't want certain things to become public. We don't want to have to answer questions about certain things. That's what they're trying to do. So it has more to do with discovery and all the stuff that could come out in trial than it has to do with them actually wanting to win. I think this is just my opinion. I don't have any insider information, but I've been trying to keep up with it. And so this is just this is me reading the tea leaves a little bit and really looking at what each party has at stake here. JV says, replace the Rooney rule with what exactly? Well, JV, it's hard to say because I don't think there's one thing that's going to fix the issue. And the reason why I say issue is because there's multiple ways to look at the issue. I'm not saying issue as though discrimination in hiring practices is not a problem. But I'm saying when we look at what the problem is, there are some people who are calling it flat out racism. But then there are some people who are like, well, there aren't Black head coaches. There also aren't Asian head coaches. There aren't Hispanic head coaches. So why is it that, what about the women coaches? Like, we can hardly get women position coaches, right? And so when I say issue, I'm referring to the fact that the hiring practices go beyond just the lack of Black coaches. And I do think it's more complicated than just, oh, people in the NFL are racist. I think when it comes to these owners, these are billionaire owners. And so, and this isn't even just the NFL. This goes to the corporate culture in America, just generally speaking. When it comes to billionaire owners, when it comes to business owners, when it comes to CEOs, when it comes to patent owners, these are people who have the resources to be able to hire people that they like, that they feel comfortable around. So what's going to happen is, in most cases, that's going to be people who are like you. And there haven't been a lot of opportunities. There haven't been a lot of situations in which these billionaire owners have a reason to or opportunity to get comfortable around young Black men. And so I feel like any attempt to solve the hiring issue, especially from a racial perspective specifically, is going to play out like the Rooney Rule. So it's like they'd either end up replacing it with something that's just as bad, with just as many risks, or they would actually have to take a look at the culture of the NFL and actually start making moves to say, like, hey, where we are in the development of this league now, enough years have passed to the point where we've got a diverse group of people working for the NFL in various capacities. We need to stop being so damn cliquish. Men start getting used to working next to women. White people start getting used to working next to Black people. If you're a rich white dude, you need to get used to talking to Black men who came up with nothing, and not just as your star players. It's complicated. Complicated issues require creative solutions. Oftentimes those creative solutions take time to implement and even more time to actually take effect. It's going to mean creativity and patience from all parties involved. So do I have one single answer? No. I feel like I'm going on a rant here. I feel like I've been rambling. I don't have one single answer. But I do think that, like, forcing owners and forcing GMs to interview people they're not interested in interviewing in the long run does more harm than good. Hey, Chris. Thanks for joining the chat. Good to see you. I appreciate the super chat, as always. So if you're watching, now that we're at halftime and I'm done going off on a tangent, hit the like button. I don't know if you can hype this video, but if you can hype this video, hype the video. Say hi in the chat and send me a super chat if you are able to do so. Please and thank you. Anyway, let me look and see where this lawsuit actually is. Brian Flores lawsuit update. I don't have time to actually go and look at what's been filed. All right, it's ongoing. Yeah, and it looks like so yeah, the decision to hear it out in court does seem to be the most recent development. So that happened back in August when it was a panel of 3 judges that basically said, the NFL's arbitration laws, So basically what was happening at that time in August was there's certain rules in the NFL's bylaws that means they can decide certain terms of arbitration. And if I remember correctly, what it basically would have meant was that the NFL and Roger Goodell would kind of decide how Brian Flores' grievances would play out. They would decide how all that would play out. And then basically a judge was like, this is a situation where that doesn't really make sense. No, y'all aren't doing that. And so they decided that it could go to court. And then the NFL came back and was like, please don't allow this to go to court. And in October, the Second Circuit Court said, No, it's going to court. And there have been no developments since then. Chris said, I just woke up. How are we losing to the Giants? The Cowboys are losing to the Giants because the Cowboys defense have yet to wake up. You just woke up, but they haven't woken up. Oh, wow. So it looks like they're going with Joe Milton in the second half, according to the announcers. All right, I got to check something because I actually have to be somewhere after this. JP's excited. Yikes. So yeah, it's gonna take about an hour for me to drive to where I'm driving to after this. So depending on how this quarter goes, I might end this stream early. But um, one thing I want to make sure and say to y'all before I get out of here is part of the reason I don't know if I'm gonna do watch-alongs during the playoffs, despite my love for Caleb Williams and the Bears, is because I'm actually trying to plan some really good content for 2026. I think y'all have heard me talk about the fact that July will make 5 years of Bitches Love Sports, 5 years of this podcast. And so I'm really excited about it, but I feel like I'm finally getting to a point where I'm starting to understand my voice. I'm starting to understand what I love and don't love, what I do and don't want to do. Um, and so I've got some content series coming up this year. I've got some stuff in the vault, some unreleased stuff that I want to get out to y'all. I'm going to be, quite a run by Joe Milton. I'm going to be at the Shrine Bowl again this year. So uh, basically, these watch alongs, they're about 5 hours per game. And with me still working full time and still trying to write for a couple of why can't I talk? Still trying to write for a couple of publications. Being able to reallocate 5 hours per week might be a good option for me. So, but no, this has been a hell of a journey, and I'm really excited about where Bitches Love Sports is going moving forward. And I look forward to having y'all on this journey with me. So that's why I might not be doing watch-alongs, at least not for playoffs. Now, next season, I don't know. We'll kind of see where things are next season. But for right now, it just feels like I kind of want to shift my focus to some of the other stuff that I've enjoyed doing or think I will enjoy doing. Oh, JB, you know where I stand on Nick Sorensen. I'm so ready to see Nick Sorensen go. Nick Sorensen and Matt Eberflus, they both can go. They both can go. I'm so done with both of them. I wouldn't even be mad if they were gone right now. Tell Jerry to send the chopper. Take him home. JV said special teams was set on that play, and two more players had to run in and had to run out to get in position. That is, yeah, that's wild. There've just been a lot of issues on special teams this season. And I don't know how possible it is to get Bones back, but if there's any way that they can get John Fossil back in the building, they need to go ahead and pay that man whatever it takes, pay the Titans whatever it takes, and get him back. I couldn't believe they let him go as easily as they let him go, honestly. And I thought I was tripping because so many people seem to not care. And I'm like, yo, this is literally one of the best special teams coordinators in the entire league. Like, we need to keep him in the building. But I guess people get it now. People get it now. Goodness. But yeah, one of the things that I'm gonna try to do is I think a bunch of y'all saw the interview that I did with Ken Rogers from NFL Films. So I do want to do more interviews like that. I want to interview more I want to interview like more producers of sports documentaries. I might actually try to I cannot talk today. I might actually try to interview Ken Rogers again, especially after the season, just to get his take on things because he was involved in the Gambler and His Cowboys documentary on Netflix. Also, obviously, has been involved with Hard Knocks. So I would love to get his take after everything is said and done this season, just of the overview of the league and where the Cowboys sit and everything. I think I also want to interview some sports authors. Like there's some people who have written some really, oh dang, Jadeveon Clowney just got shoved to the ground. And it looks like Quinnen Williams is going to get a penalty for, I don't know if they're going to say late hit or roughing the passer. Unnecessary roughness. That is a tricky situation for these linemen, like, because it's like if you don't go in for the tackle and then the quarterback pulls up and doesn't slide, well, then they get extra yards. But then it's like if you do, you risk what just happened. Ugh. This Cowboys defense looks like they're ready to go home, honestly. They look like a unit that is contractually obligated to be there. But anyway, like I was saying, I want to interview more executive producers, more authors. I have a series planned for Black History Month for BLS Black Fridays. So I'm just trying to bring some, I don't know, some unique content to you guys. All right, so that flag is against the Giants. A legal shift on the offense. It backs him up, but I feel like it won't hold him back for long. Like the Giants offense just seems to be able to do whatever they want during this game. And the Cowboys defense isn't getting any better. I really think they're like a penalty and so 1st and 15 for the Giants. We'll see what they do with it. So 1st and 15 and they get an immediate first down. So like I said, it doesn't make a difference. Not today. Yikes, this is terrible. Yes, JV, they got all of it right back immediately. All right, brings up a 2nd and 8 for the Giants after that 2-yard run by Tracy. How on earth do you retool an entire defensive unit? Because they need new safeties, new corners, and new linebackers. Looks like Triquezy on the coverage, preventing that connection with Hodgins. Or Triquez. What is this man's name? uh, all right, 3rd and 6 for the Giants. Easy touchdown. And so that puts the Giants up 22-10, probably soon to be 23-10. Looks like there's some pushing and shoving. I don't know what this celebration is that Dart does. Why are they pulling on this man's face mask? Dude is... Okay, so for some reason they were pulling on Sam Williams' face mask for like the longest time. I'm not sure why. A helmet came off, flags are flying. I'm still trying to figure out how this started and what exactly is going on. But this is like the worst picture of a lack of discipline for the Cowboys, because it's like, all right, y'all letting dudes run past you. You can't tackle worth a damn, but then you want to fight after a touchdown? Like, what the fuck? I'm hoping they replay it and show what happened and how it started, because I'm confused. And it seemed like it started while the cameras were on the end zone and the touchdown and the celebration in the end zone. So it wasn't really clear what started it. All right, here we go. They're showing us the replay. We got the pass by Jackson Dart. So late hit by James Houston. Announcers are saying the hit wasn't late. It wasn't really that late. They're allowed one step after the ball gets out. So I will say sometimes James Houston's hits do look late because of the distance, but he takes some really big strides. Okay, 2 fouls after the play. Okay, so they called 2 penalties. So Izaraku is disqualified for the rest of the game. For pulling off somebody's helmet. But why was dude holding on to Sam's helmet, though? That's what I'm trying to figure out. It just feels like there should have been a lot more discussed in that whole situation. Because it's not like Easy is the only person who had his hands on somebody. CG said at least my Titans are still worse than your Cowboys. Are they? I haven't been watching. I know record-wise they are. And if that is the case, I feel awful for you, CG. But it's good to see you in the chat. Thanks for stopping by. I don't even know how much longer we're going to be here. I was actually starting to talk about my content for the rest of the year. God damn, this defense looks terrible. CG said they're losing by like 15 points because this game actually matters for the Jags. Well, I mean, the Cowboys are losing by 14, and this game don't matter for either team. So, pick number 11, JV. That's what we're going for. Pick 11. Okay. Let's see how much the Cowboys' probability of winning has tanked. All right. Cowboys' odds of winning are now down to 16%. Lovely. Anyway, what I was saying before that whole skerfuffle, real quick, let me get these thoughts out before something else happens. So yeah, wanting to interview more executive producers, wanting to interview more like sports authors, like people who have written books on sports, just to have some interesting conversations from you guys, because it's like, from my perspective, when it comes to sports content on YouTube and the podcast, there does seem to be like a saturation of the hot takes and the X's and O's. So while I do like breaking down the game and doing the whole, watch along thing, I really do. I also feel like when it comes to interviews and when it comes to analyzing the culture and the business moves, I'm good at that in ways that other people aren't. And so I feel like I can bring something unique to the conversation about the Cowboys and about sports in general by adding more of that into what I do. So that's why I'm trying to incorporate more of that into my content. So if y'all have thoughts about like things that you would like to see from me, as always, please share. I would love to know what y'all want to see. Like, especially if there's something that y'all want to see and there's nobody really doing it yet. Like, hey, I would love to see more content on blank. Because like I'm gonna be doing FIFA content too with the World Cup coming here. Once the Cowboys season is over, I'm gonna be talking more about the Mavs and the Wings. So there's all that. But if there's anything else that I haven't mentioned there or that I'm not doing, and you're just like, yo, I would love if somebody would talk about blank. Sure, throw it out there. I can't promise you I'll do it, but I just like hearing more about what y'all are interested in and also how y'all feel about the new stuff that I present to y'all. That's why I'm like, yes, please watch my interview with Ken Rogers. I want to know how y'all feel about it. So the next time I do an interview with somebody like that, I can keep in mind, like, yo, my audience really wants to see or hear blank, blank, blank. CG says, yeah, I have no idea what's going on either. The Giants should want to tank. I have no idea why they're not. I feel like the Giants are having fun. Honestly, I think with where they are, maybe they just feel less incentive to tank. Um, and they actually like each other. They're having fun. Whereas the Cowboys, they've definitely phoned it in. Like if you look at that last series, and especially how the Cowboys defense looked on that 2-point conversion, they had the look of a team that threw scheme and everything that they were taught out the window. They said, fuck these coaches, fuck what we were taught. They're out there playing backyard football, and not in a good way. Not in a good way. Like sometimes backyard football leads to like really exciting plays. They're playing backyard football in the sense that they're all out there. They're all standing out there. They know they have a job to do, but they, for the most part, look disorganized and disinterested, and more like they're more interested in having their next drink than actually trying to win the game. JV says Cowboys finna lose 48-13. I don't doubt it. CG says, I like my analytics, but just analytics is kind of boring, so sure, add more stuff. All right, we got Joe Milton gets the pass off to Ferguson, who gets, I think that was a yard of yak. JV. And CJ, on that note, one thing I'll say is that I also like analytics, but I think one thing that I noticed with me watching sports content is like as I've been watching or listening to more FIFA podcasts to try to just kind of get up to speed before the World Cup, I noticed that I really like hearing like interviews with coaches and other just interesting people, interesting perspectives, you know? Um, JV said Lakers and Grizzlies. We'll see. The Grizzlies are an interesting team. I might talk about the Grizzlies a little bit, especially if they're doing well in this latter half of the season. All right, Joe Milton with the drop back. Interesting footwork by the backup. Floats the ball up to Ryan Flournoy. Makes a catch and gets some yards after. Looks like there's a flag on the play. I wonder what it is. CG adds, the one space that is completely full is the Talking Heads hot take space. I don't recommend going that direction. Literally every podcast is like that nowadays. CG, you are so right. And the thing is, it's not even good. Like every now and then I'll see Talking Heads that are good. Like I like watching NFL Live because Dan Orlovsky, even though I don't agree with him, for the most part, he's at least smart. Usually his opinions are at least based on something. Even if he does go to a conclusion that I think is wrong, at least he seems to know what the fuck he's talking about. Same thing with Ryan Clark, same thing with Mina Kimes. I can watch Talking Heads debate if they at least seem like they're informed, they know what they're talking about, they understand what the topics are, they understand how to watch film, they understand how to break it down. A lot of these podcasts, though, is just motherfuckers. You can tell they were in a barbershop one day and they were like, this was a fun conversation. We should turn it into a podcast. And they never got any better at watching ball or breaking down the game or bringing anything interesting to the conversation. It's fucking madness. What's up, John? How are you? We are watching the Cowboys lose this game miserably. And also talking about content that I could and will bring to you guys in 2026. So if you have any thoughts about what you would like to see from Bitches Love Sports this year, feel free to throw it in the chat. Or if you have any thoughts about who should replace Matt Eberflus or whatever the fuck is going on with it, I don't know. I don't even want to watch this game anymore. Like I said, I have somewhere to be at 4, so if I end this early, that's why. CG says, my last recommendation is that if you feel content is running thin, try some other sports around the Texas area. You have college football, hoops, and even ice hockey with the Dallas Stars. Oh, no, CG. I'm absolutely going to be covering basketball. Like, as soon as I can, I'm getting into Mavs coverage. I need to kind of catch up with what they've been doing. I saw that they beat the Rockets last night, but I haven't really been watching, like, their rotations, their offensive style, how Cooper Flag is assimilating, so on and so forth. The thing about me is that when I decide to talk about something, I like to have a little bit of background, a little bit of knowledge. I don't know shit about hockey. So it might be a while before I actually talk about hockey. If something really interesting happens, I might talk about it just from like, hey, this is something everybody's talking about locally. But it might be a while before I start talking about hockey. But Mavs and Wings definitely will be discussed. And then I've been trying to learn more about soccer so that I can talk about like the World Cup coming up. But here's an interesting thing about soccer that I keep getting distracted by. I'll be learning about the sport, right? But then they'll start talking about like just FIFA and the corruption, and then I get caught up in those storylines. So some of my content might actually be about that, because that whole thing with Johnny or is it Johnny? Some people call him Johnny, but I think it's Gianni Infantino and all of that. Like that whole thing is really interesting to me. So I might go that direction for some of the content. And CG, you're right. It is Bitches of Sports. When we first started this podcast, it was actually during the Olympics. So we were discussing football because Hard Knocks was on, and we would talk about Hard Knocks. But we were actually talking more about the Olympics. The NBA playoffs that year were late because this was 2021. They were still adjusting after the pandemic. So we were talking NBA basketball. We were talking about the Olympics. We were talking about the upcoming WNBA season. We were talking about gymnastics, track and field. We were talking about a lot of roller derby because we both played roller derby. We were talking about the IOC and the new guidelines for how to handle transgender athletes. We were all over the place. We were all over the place. It became more football as I had less and less time to do the podcast, and I started writing for Cowboys Wire. And then the podcast basically turned into like, well, I just wrote articles this week about this stuff, so I'm gonna show up and talk about what I just wrote about because it was easy. But now I'm finding myself kind of being like, okay, I have a little bit more time to research some other stuff. CG said it's a national pastime to complain about the blatant corruption. Okay, well that makes sense why I'm seeing so much of it. So if the soccer fans, if the football fans tend to like that, maybe they'll love me. They'll find me and be like, "Who is this black woman out here talking about FIFA? I'm gonna watch her." It could be fun. Roller games was something else. And no, it's not the same sport. Like, but between you and me, they might do themselves a favor by going back to that style. But different conversation for a different day. Jean said, "Did the starters play today? Because if not, my DFS will be messed up." The starters did play. They're just not anymore. Man, this Cowboys defense is just going through the motions. Now, one thing you probably won't get a lot of from me, you guys, is draft content. If there are any good storylines in the draft, I'll talk about individual storylines, but I will not be your resource for like who should be picked where. Like, you won't see me doing mock drafts. Oh, and I'm gonna be starting a new Twitter page. I'm gonna share that with y'all as soon as I get it set up. I'm gonna still have my old one if you're following me there, but I'm starting a new one. Basically as an experiment. I just need to see something. Well, Jadeveon Clowney is still playing for something. So yeah, I might possibly wrap up this stream after this quarter just to make sure that I get to where I'm trying to get in time. All right, we got Jackson darting shotgun. I know I've been rambling for a while, so we're about 5 minutes. Oh. All right, so we got about 5 minutes left in the third quarter. That started off as a good run for the Giants, but it looks like the ball popped out towards the end right after he passed the sticks, as a matter of fact. Ball popped out at the end and looks like it was recovered by Jadeveon Clowney, who might be the only person on Cowboys defense who is still trying to win this game. Oh, no. James Houston played a role in that. Oh, wait, no, I think that was the play before. And no, I think I was completely wrong. That might have been Reddy Stewart. JV, why are the Giants being called the Gadgets? Where did this nickname come from? like I got a few subscribers today. So if you're still watching, thank you to the people who subscribed. I appreciate you. I am still trying to grow my following. Yes, nickname. You keep calling them the Gadgets, and they're the Giants. I'm trying to figure out where this name came from. Titans are losing 7-34. Damn. Ooh. The introduction of flag football is so interesting to me. Especially just because of the inclusion of women and kids under the umbrella of something that for so long has been considered like a man's sport. And now it's like, no, women and children, we want them to be involved. I'm reading something from my editor. Apparently, he wants everything, all the game related stuff submitted today. CG, when you say you're not sure flag football will go anywhere, in terms of what? Because it's grown pretty much around the world. It's gonna be in the Olympics. Where are you thinking that it won't go? Like, what are you thinking that flag football won't be able to do when you say it's not going to go anywhere? Because I mean, I consider becoming an Olympic sport a kind of a big deal. And then when you think about the investment in professional flag football leagues, it does seem like, it's off to a slow start like most sports. But it seems like there are some people who are pretty invested in seeing it go somewhere. So CG says, that's always been the problem with American football. At a global scale, it's too expensive of a sport. But flag football is way cheaper to play because you don't need the same amount of equipment. And this is just my understanding. But my understanding is that what makes football so much more expensive is the equipment and the quality of equipment that's needed. That's why there's literally organizations who like try to raise money to get American football programs started around the world, because like some of these countries where they try to start it, they're just like, yeah, that's a lot of overhead, even the insurance that's needed. And I do think that flag football is still less wear and tear than rugby. So it's like it's a lower cost than American football, less wear and tear than rugby. I thought those were the two things that were contributing to its growth. Said at the level of football, that is to say, leagues popping up globally. Yeah, and so that is interesting that you say that, because a lot of people will say, no, flag football, it is spreading globally, but it's spreading more with women and kids who have fewer options when it comes to sports than it is with like men. There are places where men are playing flag football, which I think is part of the reason why the Pro Bowl keeps including the flag football exhibition. I think they just want more. Okay, looks like Milton on the run with the ball on fourth down. I feel like that yank at the end should have been called, but it looks similar to like what they called on Kenneth Murray earlier, but it is what it is. That was a good run by Milton, though. But yeah, I think they keep doing the Pro Bowl exhibition because they want these examples of men playing flag football. Whereas in a lot of places, it's been like a way for women to be like, hey, we can play this intense sport too, which is it's an intense sport. It is definitely not like full tackle football, but um, it's just something to think about when these headlines start coming out about the growth of flag football. The ball popped out on at the end of this last run by the Cowboys, but I felt like dude should have been considered down by contact. He was literally laying on top of a pile. Hold on, I need them to look at this because I could have sworn that once you were down on top of someone, unless they changed it. Okay, so he's running. Yeah. Okay, so even the announcers are saying that he was down because he was down on top of the defender and his knees had touched the ground. So that's why I was like, when they were celebrating, I'm like, wait, the ball popped out, but he was already down. So it looks like they are. Oh, am I having audio issues? What happened? Hold on. Can y'all hear me now? Give me a second, guys. Okay. Can you hear me? I can see that there's significant lag. I don't know. It's weird because on my camera here, everything's up to speed. But over here, which is what I think y'all are seeing, um, there's a really bad delay. I don't know, whatever. These Transformer references, I don't know what happened. Whatever it is, I obviously didn't hear what y'all are hearing. All right, first and goal for the Cowboys with 6 seconds left in the third. Milton tries to run it in, doesn't quite get there. Out of bounds at about the 1 yard line. It'll bring up second and goal for the Cowboys. Yes, JV, I know the video is out of sync. I don't really know how to fix that because I don't know why it's happening. It's like on this camera, everything looks fine. On this one, it's not. Here, let me try refreshing. All right. Are we good? Are we good? Are we in sync? Can you hear me? Um, John said, "What DC would you like to have at the Cowboys?" Honestly, I don't know. I don't know. The reason why I say I don't know is because I feel like you not only need to change coordinators, you also need to change members of the staff and you need to change personnel. So to me, it's less about who is the perfect defensive coordinator and it's more about who's going to be a good fit working alongside Schottenheimer, who can put a staff together that can implement what this coordinator wants to implement in terms of culture, in terms of scheme, in terms of skill set, and how do they completely retool a Cowboys defense that needs so many new pieces? Because like we're not talking about like, oh, the Cowboys need a new linebacker. We're talking about the Cowboys need to reconfigure their entire linebacker room, their entire cornerback room, their entire safety room. And so it's like, yeah, there are some good defensive coordinators out there as potential candidates, but it's just like I feel like there's a Venn diagram of needs for the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm less concerned about who the DC ends up being and more concerned about them taking the time to actually consider all the elements that need to be in place for them to not have to go yet another season with hiring and then firing a defensive coordinator. Sorry, I missed a touchdown. Trying to fix technical difficulties. Ah. Oh, I didn't miss a touchdown. It's happening right now. Hmm. Could the Cowboys come back and win this after all? But John, I did talk a lot earlier about why I don't think it'll be Brian Flores. Don't wish evil on us today. What evil? What evil? What did I say? What I do? Are you talking about me saying the Cowboys could come back and win this? Wait, wait, wait. If the Cowboys win, what pick do they get? I know you said if they lose, they get pick number 11. If they win, what pick do they get? 18 to 21. That is a big difference. But do we have any idea what the Cowboys are going to take in the first round? Because I don't think they're going to take like a quarterback. I could possibly see them. I'm just thinking about the offensive side first. Just because of the wear and tear on running backs, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a really good one available. But I feel like that's not necessarily a first round need for the Cowboys right now. Um, what do the Cowboys need on offense that they would really have to get in the first round? I'm just going off the top of my head. When it comes to like wear and tear and wanting to have depth, I could see running back, I could see offensive line. Xavier said Caleb Downs and Sonny Styles. John, I feel like the way Jerry Jones runs the team, um, I feel like it's changing a little bit. I actually could see a good DC coming to the Cowboys. What I don't see is a DC coming to the Cowboys if they're hoping to work their way up to a head coaching position. And yes, the Cowboys are cheap, but I also feel like they've been cheap in the past because of their hiring tactics. It's like in the past, they haven't hired like young, innovative coordinators to come in and like really make a difference. They've been hiring former coaches, coaches who were fired or who haven't been doing anything for a while. I mean, think about it. Dan Quinn, he had just got fired. Zimmerman, he wasn't doing anything for a while. Eberflus just got fired. Yeah, those types of guys are cheap. Those types of guys are cheap. But it's hard for me to believe that they would see the trajectory of the offense under Eberflus, that they would invest in keeping George Pickens, that they would try to keep all the people that they're saying they're trying to keep, Javante Williams, Jadavian Clowney, so on and so forth, that they would do so much to try to put the talent on the field and kind of handle their personnel differently in the ways that they have and then turn around and make the same mistakes when it comes to hiring a defensive coordinator. I feel like they're going to be more prepared this offseason to pick someone who's going to actually be good and to pay them. Jesus. They are beating the hell out of Jackson Dart. All right, Cowboys send four on the Giants second and 5. Dart gets the ball off. And Logan Wilson is going to be flagged for a DPI. Probably because he didn't look for the ball. I think the action itself would not have been as bad if he would at least looked for the ball, which I feel like is basics in that kind of coverage, but whatever. Oh, they're saying there's no foul. Oh, Logan Wilson did turn for a second. It was very quick. It was very quick, but he did turn and look at the ball, so good for him. I take back what I said. This time. This time. Royal, are you a comedian for real? The Browns are beating the Bengals. That's fun. Why are you laughing at me, JV? I feel like I asked a perfectly legitimate question. Oh, wow. That was a hell of a pass from Jackson Dart to Slayton. Now, there are flags on the play, so it might come back. call one against the Giants. So yes, it is coming back. Yikes. They're throwing flags on every play. I guess the refs need some experience going into the off season too. The refs are like, yeah, we need some momentum. This game is making me hate Kalen Carson, y'all. Who is calling me? How are you even calling me? JV, why did you hate him last season? Wasn't he hurt most of last season? JV said he sucked when he played. QBs had a perfect rating when targeting him. That's fair. That's fair. I hardly remember that honestly. I mostly remember him being hurt. But nah, I'm ready to let Carson go along with Sanborn and Murray and Wilson. Leave them all in New York for all I care. All right, Jackson Dart in shotgun. Giants are running the ball. And Tracy got how many yards was that? Like 20? Jesus. I'm about to look up that Cowboys free agent list. Dart hands off to Tracy. Gets stopped at the line of scrimmage this time. Royal, what are you having from Whataburger? I like Whataburger, but I can't eat them right now. I'm on a diet. Oh, bad pass from Dart. Nobody was covering Manhurts. That would have been an easy touchdown. The pass was just way too low. Number 2 double meat cheeseburger. Thank you, JV. I actually gained a lot of weight since that picture though. Where was I when I took the red dress picture? I want to say at least 10 pounds. At least 10 pounds since then. But I'm basically trying to get back to where I was when I took that picture, but also more fit. Like basically when I stopped playing roller derby, a lot of my fitness metrics fell off. So it's like it's a little bit harder for me to run than it was like this time last year. So I'm like working on my cardiovascular health as well as like just my overall physique. But yeah, Whataburger is delicious. Except one gripe I have about Whataburger is the fries. The fries get cold way too fast. I hate it. I really need Whataburger to work on their sides because like their fries they get cold and they just taste stale really quickly. Like usually I can't even wait like bring them home. Like if I go through the drive-through, I got to eat the fries in the car. Otherwise they won't be good by the time I get home. CG, did you see the red dress picture? I don't think you would have seen that. But I appreciate you guys being so encouraging and complimentary. It means a lot. Thank you. JV said, "Did you stop going to the gym?" Yeah. For a while I did stop going to the gym. It was just it's been hard to work it into my schedule. You're right, it was a video. My bad. But no, I did stop going to the gym. Like it's been tough. It's been tough. Like I just long story short, I had like some financial stuff coming up and so I was working so much that I did not have time to go to the gym. And that's also why it was hard for me to like make content as much as I wanted to and actually like study the game for real. Like I don't know if y'all noticed, but there was like a period of several months where it's like I was just talking off the top of my head on a lot of the live streams. Like I would literally pop on and be like, "Yeah, I wrote an article about this," and just basically spend a few minutes talking about what I wrote an article about, and that was it. But that was because I was working so much. I had almost no time for anything else. Um, because I've been in a position before where money was tight and my credit was bad and all kind of stuff, and I just don't want to go back there. So when I started having stuff go, interception by Joe Milton, Lord. So the reason why this interception is especially bad is because the way the Giants are playing, they're already up by 10. They might capitalize on this interception and go up by 17 or 18. But anyway, I started having problems with my car, and I had used a lot of my savings to move here to Dallas. So I didn't even have a lot in terms of a backup to help me. So it was basically like work day and night. I wasn't sleeping enough. I wasn't studying sports. Uh, I wasn't going to the gym. Like it was bad. And then all of that put together made me actually like slick depressed, if I'm being real. And so I'm really just getting to the point where I'm bouncing back from that and starting to work out again regularly, eating better, and building up my savings again. So, and Tracy with the ball looks like he's gonna get the first down and this some and then some. The Cowboys defense has given up. If the Giants score on this drive, I'm signing off. Just letting y'all know. Mainly because I have somewhere to be at 4. And so I'm like, no reason to be late, not for this. CG, you're a science fiction writer? That's awesome. I was trying to pull up the list of Cowboys free agents. And Jadeveon Clowney is still the only guy on Cowboys defense for playing for real. He gets his third sack of the day. I like the fact that Jadeveon Clowney likes the Cowboys so much that he's willing to put it on the line today. I respect it. The Cowboys need to keep him 100%. Absolutely. All right. Here's the Cowboys free agency list. It's a long list, as you can see. And I'm going to be honest, there aren't a ton of names on here that I'm really attached to. We've got Kenneth Murray, he can go. Dono, questionable. Dante Fowler Jr., questionable. Robert Jones, questionable. Jadeveon Clowney, we need to keep. So Jadeveon Clowney, Javante Williams, George Pickens, we definitely need to keep. How do y'all feel about Sam? I feel like Sam had a really good offseason and then kind of fell off in the regular season. But I feel like that's the case with a lot of guys on defense. And Sam just didn't have last season to prove himself the way some other guys did, you know? I feel like this is a really bad year for Sam to come back from injury because it's like the last thing that we remember about him was a guy getting into trouble, getting a lot of penalties, and then he was injured. And then now this year, just the whole defense has looked terrible. So it's like I hate for this season to be the final verdict on him, but I feel like a lot of fans are not that attached to him right now. Another first down for the Giants inside the 10-yard line. It's going to be first and goal for the Giants. Da-da-da-da. I think they should keep Brock Hoffman and TJ Bass and Brandon Aubrey. I can talk, y'all, I promise. And Reddy Stewart. I actually like him. And especially with it being that they need so many people on defense, definitely keep a guy like Reddy Stewart. Now, if they only needed to make one or two changes on defense, I wouldn't be as adamant about keeping Reddy Stewart, but I just feel like you need to keep all the guys that you can. And I think Reddy Stewart is one of the guys that should be kept. So going over this list again, who I'd like to see them keep, who I want to see them sign immediately. Jadeveon Clowney, Javante Williams, George Pickens, Brock Hoffman, TJ Bass, Brandon Aubrey, Reddy Stewart. So for me, that's 7 people off this whole list. And then there are some other people that I wouldn't mind seeing them keep, like CJ Goodwin. He seems to be an asset to special teams every year. So if they keep CJ Goodwin, cool. If they keep Sam Williams, I wouldn't even be mad. I'd be like, okay, Sam has another season to prove himself. I know some people are like, Sam can go. I'm not quite there yet with Sam. So if they keep him, not mad. Um, Josh Butler, I think a lot of Cowboys fans have. JP said CJ Goodwin is 381 years old, and he didn't play this season either. That's why I didn't put him on my short list because I'm just like, I just know in the past he's been considered an asset. He's been considered a good guy in the locker room. So that's why I said what I said. But you're right, he is old. That's why he's not on my short list because I'm like, they have every reason to get rid of this guy. it could be time for him to go. And Donovan Wilson, it hasn't been a very good year for him either. So if they let him go, I'm gonna just be like, all right. But I actually would like to see them keep Reddy Stewart. He's a character. All right. JV said Sam ain't getting signed anywhere else, so bring him back for crumbs. You're right. He definitely didn't earn a big payday this season. He did not earn a big payday. JV said all the safeties can go. Indeed. Indeed. I didn't see the second part of your message. You said sleeping depressed is par for the course. Ma'am, I was drinking a lot. Like I've even had to stop drinking just for the sake of just like bad habits. I didn't get to the point where I was like driving drunk or couldn't function without alcohol, but it got to the point where it's just like I'm drinking so much during the week, I just don't feel good about it. I was like, this is a bad habit. We're gonna cut this out. But yeah, depression, drinking, not sleeping. Oh, it was bad. It was bad. Um, where's Duncanville? CG, anger and frustration are symptoms of depression, by the way, just putting that out there. And Fred says restructure Clark's contract. It could also be a good idea. All right. It is 2:48. Like I said, I got somewhere to be at 4. So, it's Sunday. I'm gonna see y'all on Tuesday. I should have guests in the studio on Tuesday so that we can I don't know what we're gonna be talking about. I don't know if we're gonna talk about this season or what. What just happened to my audio? Not audio here. I couldn't hear the game for a little while. Um, I don't know if something's happening on the broadcast side or with my phone. Anyway, sorry, this is distracting. He said, talk about what my guest does. So both of my potential guests on Tuesday, they're two college football players that I trained for a very short while before they left here and went to college. I think one of them wants to talk about um, his experiences in the transfer portal. I don't know. It really might be a shoot the shit type of episode where we just sit down and have just a good old fashioned sports conversation where there's really nothing planned and we just talk shit for an hour and then get out of there. Um, but one of them is a football player from Columbia. He's actually been on the show before. Y'all might have seen him. And then his brother is coming through. So we'll kind of see what headlines pop up between now and Tuesday. Who knows what could happen? And then after that, I do want to, let's see, today's the 4th. I want to start doing lives on Fridays, but I have an anime convention where I'm doing a couple of panels this weekend, so I won't be in town. But one of those old interviews from the vault that I told y'all about, where I said I had unreleased content, I might put one of those up as a premiere video. So anyway, like I always say, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, turn your notifications on so you know when I'm going live and when there's new content. I hope to see y'all in the chat on Tuesday. And yeah, if y'all have any other thoughts, you can go to my posts and leave comments there. You can leave comments here. You can DM me, whatever you decide to do. You said, did I tell Osa? Did I tell Osa what? he likes anime too. I actually haven't talked to Osa in a while. I've talked to him in the past about anime conventions I'm going to, but this one's in Austin. If it were in town, I might have mentioned it to him, but this one's in Austin, so I didn't really mention it to anybody. But yeah, I'm going to Austin. Got a few panels to host, so I'm gonna do that, and then yeah, it should be a fun 2026. But anyway, thanks y'all for joining me in the chat. I hope to see y'all Tuesday. And wherever you decide to follow me, I hope to hear from you guys. But anyway, I'm going to get out of here so I can not be late for this meeting. It's been fun and it's been a fun season, hoping for a good off season. But on that note, okay, y'all are still talking in the chat. You said, will I live stream my anime? Live stream, probably not. A lot of these conventions don't like when you live stream from the convention. I might record some of it and share clips though. I really haven't decided how much anime stuff I want to put on the sports channel because it's like bitches love sports. And then it's like if I randomly just put anime shit out, the algorithm might be like, what the fuck are you doing? So I don't know. But anyway, yeah, this has been fun. Thanks for joining me. And I'll see y'all on Tuesday. So this has been another episode of Bitches Love Sports. I'm your host, Jazz Monet, and I'm out.
You only think of us as a bitches when you intimidated. Put it that way. I think
people look at a woman and she's an aggressive woman who's out to get what she wants to get. You know what I'm saying? Ambitious, and they want to say, you know, when a male is assertive, this is what he wants. He's looked at as a strong male, but yet when I get it, you know, I'm a bitch.
Exactly.
And if that's what I gotta be, exactly, to get what I want and to make it somewhere, then I'll just be that.